Coming up, do we have a deal? Join us as we dissect season 4 of Invincible. Stay tuned.
Do you and your planet accept my terms, or do you choose annihilation for both our people?
Welcome to the Morgue, where we dissect the latest and greatest in the world of entertainment. And we are your hosts, Arturo Padilla, along with Mr. Nick Valdez. Before we get started, do not forget to hit that subscribe button, that thumbs up, and that bell. That way you know when all these videos are dropping. X, how you doing today, buddy?
Howdy, everybody. Howdy, Arturo. Invincible Season 4. The last time we got to talk about Invincible Season 4, we kind of left on the fact that, like, everything was terrible for Morgue. Everything was just awful and piling on top of one another. War were declared, and he was recruited to a full... war were declared. Classic Futurama. Classic Futurama joke. I love that joke. But he was recruited to a space war. They fought like the Viltriumite Empire for a while. They seemed like they were winning, but then with the surprise attack on Telescria, and that kind of like set the whole stage from there with the declaration that, okay, we're bringing the fight to Viltrum. Like there are only 40 Viltrumites left. Now it's time to take them all out while we have the chance. And you have Optimus Prime saying it, so it's like, of course we're going to do this, right? And so with the final 2 episodes, we finally got to see this war play out for real. Like, yes, we've seen like all these episodes of big fights and big battles already, but episode 7 was where we really got like the full climax of the season. You had just like the ragtag group of Mark and Nolan and Alan and Battle Beast and like some basically like the whole kit caboodle of randos. The new character Tech Jacket. Interestingly enough, Arturo, just a quick aside, Tech Jacket, whole thing from the comics, is one of Robert Kirkman's like characters that was like popping up around the same time as Invincible, I believe. Before, I'm trying to remember my timeline correctly, but major change to the character actually, because while she's Zoe in the show, in the comics, Tech Jacket is like just a dude. And
okay.
Yeah, and Robert Kirkman decided to change the character because when you look at Tech Jacket, he looks just like Mark. Like he's just another he's just a guy with black hair. And Robert Kirkman, I believe, I can't remember where he said this officially, sorry about this, but he did state in an interview that looking back on it, he's like, oh, my characters weren't defined enough like from one another. So he decided to kind of shake things up. And with Tech Jacket, it gave that opportunity. And Tech Jacket had his own like series of comics that weren't doing as well as Invincible. And so this was like a big crossover event. Like this whole arc was a big thing for Tech Jacket.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is why like all of a sudden this character rises to prominence within the show, right? Because for all intents and purposes, Tech Jacket is just kind of like a new character, right? She's just there, and suddenly she's in the middle of the war, and you're like, well, okay, why is she there? She's basically like Blue Beetle, with like a super space suit that like gives her technology and the ability to fight. But she can also, as we've seen especially through episode 7, when they're full on fighting the Viltrumites, it goes like shows you what she's capable of and why she's there in the first place, and like we'll get into all that. But that was an interesting change, and this is why like a new character suddenly appears in the show and gets so much importance. It's because that's kind of the way it was in the comics. Like Tech Jacket was the crossover character, brought them fully in, all that stuff. And the war itself, this fight with Thragg that we get, it's like, yo, like this is what we've been waiting for, Arturo, right? Like I feel bad because like this whole time we've been talking about Invincible, like I've been sitting here going, oh, Thragg is the coolest dude. Like he is awesome.
Thragg is the coolest, man.
Yes, Thragg is the coolest. And it's tough because like I didn't want egg on my face because he we've been like, as comics fans, I know this too. I'm very guilty of this. Like we've been kind of teasing this guy as like, yo, he is like such a big deal that like, when he finally gets into action, that he's gonna do cool stuff. Like it's funny that we see him in the like when in the episode itself, like when they're actually like finding the Viltrumites, and like it's a cool thing above like planet Viltrum, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like the space above it. And it's kind of, remember that Simpsons joke where like the mafia versus the Japanese mafia?
Yes, yes,
Over
it's so
like,
true.
oh, there's like a little guy. He's like, I'm waiting to
It's
see
the
if the
quiet
little,
little guy in the back you gotta worry about all the
yeah,
time, and it's so true, Tex was always telling me off the air, a little peek under the sheet, Tex was always telling me, "Dude, just wait till Thragg. If you thought Conquest was dope and
yeah,
Conquest was awesome, wait till Thragg. You haven't seen nothing yet." And I'm like, "Man, hey, like, Conquest is pretty dope." He was like,
yeah,
"Just wait." And dude, like, Thragg did not disappoint. He exceeded expectations even. This guy is just, you have to see it to just understand how awesome this guy is. It's funny because his his design too, it doesn't seem very imposing, right? Like
right, yeah,
like you see his face and you're like, oh, okay, sure,
yeah,
guy with
and
mustache, right? But
right,
and then he
yes.
has a weird little haircut on top of that too.
Like egregious hairline, right? The most egregious hairline. And it's funny too, because like the first look we get at him in the show, like, yeah, he seems imposing and all that, but when he's finally in the middle of a battle, right, when they attacking Telescria, he kind of runs away, right? And you're like, oh, that's, he's looking like a punk here. And so I was worried. I was like, I don't know, what is this, because Arturo, the show's made so many changes to things that I was legitimately going, oh no, like what if they change Thragg to the point where like he's not as cool as he was? But oh man, well boy was I wrong, and I was so happy to be wrong in this case, because when Thragg finally gets into it, like he really is like that guy in The Simpsons. Once you've heard the "aye," it's like, and you hear the multiple bodies hitting the ground. That was kind of it, right? Like it's funny, right? Because you hear people complaining about like the animation and the budget and all that stuff, right? About like, oh, it doesn't look good as it used to or whatever. But then like this is why it's like, no, they're just spending more time on certain sequences, right? Like they're
Yeah.
spending more time to like amp up Thragg, going full anime with it, where he's like pushing air pressure just by like loading up his arm for a punch. And you're like, this is the
Dude,
Arturo, like
just I mean, listen, just the introduction we get when Thragg is on screen and then Nolan tries to get close to him and he just
yes.
gets freaking walloped into like orbit, dude.
Yeah,
He literally gets like thrown into orbit because he got knocked so hard, lands in like what in Viltrum somewhere,
yeah,
and it was just so impressive that you're just like in awe of this man's power, dude.
yeah,
And as if you guys are watching here on YouTube, here you see Conquest trying to be Conquest here, but this is nothing. Like this is literally nothing in comparison to what we get with Thragg. And Thragg is such an imposing force when he is on screen.
yeah,
Lee Pace, man, does a very good job with the voice acting there because I wouldn't consider Lee Pace to have this commanding presence or or, or voice when he is on screen or talking, but when Thragg is talking, you are listening.
yeah.
You are listening no matter what, man. It was, dude, it's so impressive. And to know that this is not the end of anything because it's just the beginning of Thragg pretty much, right, Tex?
Yeah, yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like Thragg, like, so just a quick little recap of everything that happened there in that episode 7. Thragg was like when he punches Nolan to the planet, right? He's like explaining his whole deal, and you get more of the Viltrum Empire kind of background. You get how Thragg became Grand Regent and kind of like immediately murdered like half his own population and then they were hit by their like the scourge virus, and they got limited even more. So this is how they ended up where they like ended up. And the whole thing about Thragg and what makes him so interesting is that like while he's like a devastating force, he at the end of the day he is trying to save his people, which
Yes.
is it's super like it's super weird, right? Because yes,
Yes.
they're space
Yes.
conquerors and they're terrible people, but when you see their culture, right, and you see the way they're raised and they're brought up, you're like, oh, you can kind of see that mentality. And then you got Nolan, Mark, and Thaddeus kind of like then deciding to blow up planet Viltrum and like taking Thragg to a whole new level, because then he was like
Yeah.
fully unleashed, right? Of like with nothing left to lose, he was like, I'm going to like it just oh,
It's so, dude, it's so nuts.
yeah.
Just the action of Nolan telling Space Racer is like, hey, listen, shoot that
Yeah,
way,
shoot the planet. Yeah.
shoot the planet. And this awesome freaking gun this guy has is so dope. He
Yeah.
shoots the freaking planet and they're just flying behind it in this where I'm like, oh my God. And I'm watching this and I just can't believe that they're doing this. And I'm like, holy crap, this is so awesome. But
Yeah.
then from Thrax's perspective, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
definitely not
hey,
awesome. Yeah.
it's not awesome. We don't have a home. It's and
Yeah.
after and this all happens after he has this one-on-one with Nolan back on planet Viltrum saying, "Hey, come back to us. We can rebuild this. We
Yeah.
can be better and stronger than we ever were." Right? And then Nolan like after he got punched out of the atmosphere again by Thragg, he was like, "No, I'm sorry. I'm going to take a different stance on this." And he literally flies through the planet.
Yeah.
And oh my God. And yes, so now Thragg and the 39 other Viltrumites that are left in this whole galaxy have nowhere else to go, Tex.
Yeah, and
Nowhere
this
else
is
to
yeah.
go. And this is where we're at now here in this Invincible universe, where 40 Viltrumites are still hanging out in space, right? And we're just here, like Mark in episode 8, living with this PTSD as to when are they gonna show up again?
Yeah, so okay, so the finale, it's got like, it has these moments where Mark like the whole time's having these like PTSD attacks of like, Thragg killing people he cares about, right? And the first time it happens, incredibly shocking because you're like, and especially incredibly shocking to me as someone who knows where things are going, because once again, the show changes so much from like what the comics did. Like I thought that's what was happening. I was like, oh, well, it's taking a really big swing with one of the deaths. Then it's like, no, it's just revealed to be Mark going through like his PTSD. And then it keeps happening. So that is my one issue with the finale. It's that like maybe like by the sixth time that we got like a brutal death
Yeah,
kill like
yeah.
from Thragg, I was like,
Yeah,
okay, like
I
I
get it. I get it.
yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, like I get what you're doing, and I get it, but like I think that also might be a factor of the fact that these episodes are an hour long, and so while that's good, right? Like it's good because he gets a lot done. At episode 8, like the finale is like super emotional. It spends a lot of time like with Mark kind of like going through like just the trauma of everything he's been through the war and getting an update on like what's happened on Earth in the last like 10 months that he's been gone. There are some unfortunate results of that. You have like you have Debbie and Paul breaking up off screen, which I kind of hate because yes, it happens in the comics. That's a thing, but Paul became like such like an actual character in the show. Like in the
Yeah.
comics, she's just kind of dating him as like a rebound. Like it's really like it's not painted as anything like truly serious like it is in the show, right? Because you get Cliff Curtis, who's like one of like the most reliable character actors ever, right? Like you get him in your show, and you're like, yeah, let's use him, right? And that's why people love Paul. People love Paul in the show because he was a cool dude. And funny enough, he's like the only like truly good guy in the
Yeah.
show. If you really want to like get into that, right? Like
That's true, man.
he's just a good guy. He's a
He's
good
just a good
dude.
guy. He was too good for Debbie. He was too good for Debbie. Debbie had too many issues going on.
And
I yeah,
I get it, right? Yeah,
yeah.
like
He
in that
says it. He says it in
context.
the show. He's like, Debbie,
Yeah.
are we're totally different. Our worlds are totally different. As Debbie is contemplating, going light years away to see Oliver recuperating, in some alien
Yeah.
planet. So I definitely love Paul, and Cliff Curtis did a great job voicing that actor, and you can feel Cliff Curtis coming out of Paul too in the scenes, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Such a great casting. But again, this goes back to our conversations we've had many times before here on the Morgue about the casting choices here in Invincible and how it matters, how it totally makes a difference when you have people like Sandra Oh and J.K. Simmons
Yeah.
and Lee Pace doing the best they can, and these really comfortable environments for them. So you get these really raw kind of performances where they're doing their all pretty much to portray all these emotions via just audio. And I think they did a great job this season with all the voice actors from episode 1, even episode 4 when they're in hell. I thought that was a cool episode. And
I mean, yeah, in retrospect, you're like, I would have been fine with 7 episodes, right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
yes, it would have been one less episode, but like, if you think of the pace of the season, right, you're like,
yeah,
yeah, it's just, and especially when we get to the finale, we get to the final reveal that, because when the planet blows up, Thragg and the other Viltrumites decide to just disappear. He's in the middle of killing Mark, and he decides not to because he's just like, he's over it. It's one of those moments where like in in the moment you're like, why did he do that? He should have just eliminated him, right? But it's comics. That's another thing too, where it's like, yeah, you can't fully kill off your main character, right? But then this is also what makes Thragg so complicated and
yeah.
so interesting because we get the why, right? Like, so it's revealed that Thragg actually did come to Earth, and all the Viltrumites have just been hanging out this whole time, and they're within the population and strikes a deal with Mark, or deal, quote unquote, right? Of like the whole like this is you're doing this, or I kill everyone in this planet and kill you and whatever, right? Like, and it's so interesting from Thagg's perspective because when he lays it out, it's that because of Mark, they realize that the Viltrum Empire can live again. Like
Yes,
Viltrumites can breed and repopulate and
yes.
reform their population. He views Mark as their savior, which is super
Which is
funny,
wild,
which
right?
is
I
wild
love it.
because
I
he
love it.
did blow up their planet. So it's such like a conflicting thing between the two of them. And that's what makes Thragg so cool. It's not like his overwhelming power. It's that all adds to it, of course. It's the fact that he's he's actually complicated. Like he's an actually complicated guy, and it once again, Invincible just proves like it's really good at writing these complicated characters,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because on the other hand, you have Nolan going through his whole journey, and like in the finale especially, he's once again trying to reconcile with Debbie, but he's clearly burned that bridge. But maybe not have burned that bridge completely. That's the thing too. It's like he's steadily becoming a better person, but like
Yes.
through his interactions with like Cecil in the finale, it's clear that no, right? Like it's
No,
like
yeah,
no.
there is no forgiving his actions from season 1 and what he did in Chicago, what he did to Debbie, to the people he's killed, to everyone. Like, he's
Yeah,
left such a big hole and emptiness in planet Earth because of everything he did.
yeah,
So there is no forgiving what he's doing. He can only do his best to repent and atone bit by bit. But him wanting to, like, you can see he is changing because he does feel upset and disappointed when he is trying his best to be good and
yeah,
apologize and stuff, but he doesn't get it. Like Debbie says, like, hey, like, you're doing a bad job being a copy of this human, like you still don't get it, like
Yeah.
you're still viewing it from his alien perspective and not the perspective of a human who just went through all this. So I do love what they're doing with these characters, and I love their journeys from season one, and Nolan, meeting Omni Man, the big strong Omni Man, the Superman of that universe, and then seeing what he truly is and what he became, and then seeing him now in season four, fighting Thragg with his two sons. It's been an awesome journey, an awesome journey.
Yeah.
And season four, um, I thought season three couldn't have been any like
Right.
I thought they couldn't top the ending of season three with Conquest, but lo and behold, freaking Thragg shows up and just blows Conquest out of the water and blows my expectations out of the water. I cannot wait to see what they do. And it's funny because we were talking before we came on the air, as we were setting up the show, a little peek under the sheet, setting up all the nice media for you buddies at home to enjoy while you're watching us here on YouTube. And we were talking about Thragg, and I was like, damn, like how did Thragg, uh land, end up on Earth undetected, because
Right.
Cecil supposedly put this whole, like monitoring system in the space station that Tech Jacket lives on and all that. But lo and behold, Tex, the answer was right under my eyes the entire time. They've been here the entire time.
Yeah.
There is no, hey, we'll notify you once we see them, enter our orbit. Like, no, these dudes are hanging out. They're having slices of pizza. They're sleeping with the Earth women or the Earth men, whichever one they want, but they're having fun here on Earth. And we are none the wiser. I absolutely love
Yeah.
the ending of episode 8 where Thragg just lays everything out and we're like, "Hey, we're here. We are
Yeah.
we are deep in your culture already, dude."
And that's what makes this so Invincible too, right? Because like Invincible, it's a show that like it's really putting Mark through it. Like as we've seen through the like all the seasons already, like every time like something happens to Mark, we're like, yo, it can't possibly get worse than this, right? And then it
Yeah.
does. That's
Yeah.
This is the wild thing because like you think, oh, it can't get worse than like a war in space where his brother almost died and like they went through so much stuff. But no, like it was not like he lost again. This is another thing. Mark took a big L because yeah, they might have blown up Viltrum, but no, like they brought the threat
Dude,
home.
he took a big L. They brought the threat home, and he comes home to an Eve who didn't confess that she was pregnant before he went off to war, right?
Yeah,
So there's this whole emotional moment between him and Eve, and he realizes what happened and what transpired. Eve comes clean about everything, and dude, Mark is going through it. But again, it's like you mentioned, Tex. It's such an invincible thing, right? Because
yeah,
like I've read tons of Superman and Batman comics, and the obstacles maybe for Batman they get kind of extreme, but you don't see like a superhero just taking L after L after
yeah.
L and
This is
still keep going,
yeah,
try and do the right thing. And that's why, like for instance, you were mentioning how in episode 8 we see a lot of his PTSD. We have a lot of instances where he thinks he's seeing like crazy destruction and then death, but he's not. I do wish that was minimized as well, because you lose the impact of that PTSD. and
yeah,
and again, like he's coming from this war that no one knows that. First of all, no one knows what him and Conquest went through. No one
yeah,
knows what him and Thragg went through, and he is the only one that has this memory. And obviously Nolan, who was there, but he's here on Earth. He can't relate to anybody, and no
yeah,
one's asking him, "Hey, how are you doing?" This guy's having full blown panic and anxiety attacks in
yeah,
public, and no one asks him about it. They're like,
yeah.
"Oh,
Because
he's fine. He'll be
yeah,
okay."
because even Eve, like she can't fully be there for him because she's going through her own thing, right? And it's like, the only thing with Eve too this season, it is kind of a bit of a shame that like her character, this entire thing is just her scenes basically all became like those rooftop talk scenes that we've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
before. That is a shame, but she'll be back in action next season. It'll be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. It all works out. But when it comes to what's next, Arturo, this is the thing, right? This is the big thing, because I will say, like, as a spoiler, Thragg is sticking around, as we've seen already, right? Like
Yes.
his whole thing about the Viltrims being on Earth is that they're not going to help, but they're also not going to do anything against them, right? Like it's like a it's not a truce, but just like nothing's going to happen. Like we're
Yeah.
just, you're going to allow us to live here, or I kill you, right? And so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what
Pretty
makes him
much.
like such an awesome villain already, because at the end of the day he did choose the Empire over like his pride, right? He chose his people over his pride, but he's sticking around. So I will say that's something I could spoil, is that this isn't the last of Thragg. The reason why we were hyping him up so much to begin with is because like he's kind of one of the big bads, right? Because Invincible has a lot of villains, as we've seen, and some of them repeat themselves and stuff like that. But Thragg is setting up for the second half. Like this is like, okay, this is the second and final half of the series. Like this, from here on out, we'll see Thragg again, and we're going to see some other wild stuff. On that note, Arturo, I know you also peek under the sheet once more. You also expressed a desire to read those comics, and like, part of me is like, I get it, because after such an this is when this arc happened in the comics. This is when I was like fully in, right? Like this is when I was. This was a page turner. This is in the show. The show, they even slowed it down a bit, because like in um season three, the multiverse war, like all the Invincible war, right? Like the all the marks, like that pretty much happened within a single issue, because it was just like a big event, right? But in the comics, this really was like an arc. This really did feel like a war, and that's why over the season it felt like a lot of stuff happened, because it did, right? Like a lot of stuff did happen, and it kind of slowed it down. I think in terms of pages, we're like we're a little under the halfway mark, or maybe like a little over. But basically, from here on out, it gets wilder, and I get the desire to keep reading, because you're like, you want to see what's next. But what I will say to you, and what I will say to the buddies at home, is that I get it sucks, Arturo, waiting for the show, right? Like I get it, because but they're gonna keep up their annual release schedule. They're gonna, like, we're gonna see them every year, barring any production issues or whatever, what have you. But the show is this best version of the story. Like it, hands down, this is the best version of it all. Like the changes like Kirkman has been making to the show for the characters better, Debbie's better. So there's one key change to Debbie in the show that it's I really appreciate, that I can't get into, because it might be a spoiler for the next season. So like we'll see if that plays out. I'm sorry, I can't explain that
Zip
one
it. I
too
don't want to
much.
hear it. I don't want to hear
Yes.
it.
Yes, but
No
like,
spoilers, please.
yeah, like just in case. But like, Debbie's better. She was kind of like she's kind of a worse person in the comics, like that whole depression thing that she went through was like a big deal in the comics, and she was kind of like, yeah, like there's a lot of that 2000s edge in
She
Invincible
was
as
not
well.
very nice. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, like there's a lot of that 2000s edge, and it's the same thing with the comics. There's a lot of those rougher edges that don't age as gracefully as you would hope. And so the show, dude, the show really is the best version. This is the best version of Thragg that we've gotten. And because of that, dude, like I'm gonna end this big tirade that I'm on by saying, like, I'm super excited for what's next. Like I as like a comic
Yes.
fan, and as
Yes.
a fan of the show, like if they've been able to do this stuff as well as they've have, there are some like there are some big things that, like, yes, right, I'm sitting here going, oh well, Drag is big, and but dude, there's just
I
so much more,
cannot
like,
wait to
yeah,
see this.
yeah,
And you
and
buddies that at home know
yeah,
how we do this stuff, right?
yeah,
There's always stay away from it, which means don't even bother with this thing. There's wait for it, meaning you can watch it in the comfort of your own home when it drops on VOD or streaming. And there is pay for it, meaning you can pay for a ticket right now, or the streaming service get a trial right now so you can watch this thing. And honestly, I'm going to leave that right there on the screen, folks. Go get a trial of Amazon Prime and pay for it, dude. Go watch Invincible. Like, go pay for like a 7-day trial and binge seasons 1 through 4, and then come back next year and try it again. Okay,
Yeah,
because this is just, it's appointment television. It really is appointment television. I can't say that enough, man. Like, it's it's so hard to find TV these days that is such TV in the genre, in the genre scope, that is so true, and like so true to the spirit of what the comic is supposed to be. We get a lot of adaptations here and there, but as Tex was saying, man, and I've read probably the the first full season and maybe a half of the second season in comic book form. And he's absolutely right. The Amazon version is the absolute best version of this story. Kurtzman goes on record to say it, you know? And I cannot wait to see what happens next. I love Thragg. I hate to say that so much because he's
I
such a
know.
he's such a despicable Viltrumite, but like, dude, like he's so freaking cool. He's the coolest. Thragg
Yeah,
is the coolest, man.
I
That's
I
all I
know,
gotta
right?
say about that, man.
I'm also gonna say pay for it because Thragg is the coolest. Like that's pretty much all we gotta say. Arturo said
Yes.
it all. Like Thragg is the coolest. Please check that out. Like if you haven't seen Invincible already, like and you're listening to us here, you're watching us here on YouTube, or you're listening to us in any of the pod feeds, please like and subscribe. Our rating, like we could use those 5 stars. We would really appreciate it on an Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube. You can leave us a comment to tell us what you thought of Invincible season 4 and what you're hoping to see in season 5. Please, I mean, don't get too into spoilers because if Arturo, I don't want Arturo to read one of those comments and telling him a future death or
I
something.
read all
Right?
the
Like,
comments.
yeah,
So please
I
don't
really
spoil
don't.
it for me.
Yes, I really don't want that. I'm hoping, but please be cool about that. But what I will say is, like, if you haven't seen Invincible, like, just it's so cool, man. Like, it's just like, yo, you got to understand, this is why it's such a big deal, and it's an animated show. It's an animated
Yeah.
comic book show, which is like, yo, it's broken through to like the mainstream in a way that you would never think. And it's just because it's so cool, man. It's just a cool story. We just got a cool villain, right? I just want to keep saying cool.
Yeah, dude. Thragg is definitely the coolest. Buddies at home, please leave a comment down below. If you've seen Invincible season 4, season 3, 2, and 1, drop your comments about anything Invincible related. We're here for you guys. And please, if you have not yet seen a single episode of Invincible, but have somehow gotten clips in your timeline or your algorithm, go to Amazon and watch Invincible. I mean, this is honestly the only reason to get Amazon Prime is to
I
watch
mean,
Invincible and enjoy some free shipping while you're at it. You know what I mean? Thank you so much for listening. This has been The Morgue, where we dissect the latest and greatest in the world of entertainment. We are your hosts, Arturo Padilla and Mr. Nick Valdez. Big shout out goes to you guys out there for listening and for watching. We have all these episodes wherever you get your podcast streams, and they're all up on YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Leave some stars, comments, all that good stuff that Tex mentioned earlier. We would highly, highly appreciate it. A big shout out goes to Delvirus for all the artwork you've seen in front of you throughout the years. And last but not least, buddies at home, it is a scary world out there, especially with Thragg hanging out here, but we are here to walk you through it.